Hello everyone, welcome to Sharmit. From this session, we are going to start a new series where we are going to learn about the services. Prior to this session, we have already covered most of the important topics related to Angular like pipes, modules and all the basic stuffs, right? So this session is in the continuation of that, from where we are going to learn about the services. So before we proceed further, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released sessions first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow them sequentially, then it would be much more easier for you to understand the ongoing topic. Because for time being, we are just mainly focusing on what is services, how to create services and the introduction part of the services. Okay. And for sequential manner, like what you can do, you can refer a Sharmit digital course book from a description box, which is completely free for all of you. So you can just simply follow that course and it will help you to learn the Angular that we have covered so far. Okay. Alright, so let's get started. So as you can see the heading here, we are going to learn about Angular 19, which is provided by Sharmit, and here we will be talking about the services, which is very important topic of Angular. Like what is service, why do we need service, all these questions we will discuss. Although I'm sure like developers don't like much of the theoretical thing, but here in this session, like we will do only one session, theoretical session, and from after this we are going to talk about only the practical things. Okay, but here like there are few things that we should know at least for the theoretical perspective. So for that reason, like I have concluded everything in a one session, and it will give you the idea about the theoretical thing, and then later on we can create our own services and we can make use of it. Okay. Alright, so let's get started one by one. The first thing is, what is service in Angular? Why do we use service? These are the questions, right? So let's go one by one. So what is service in Angular? A service is a simple TypeScript class, and maybe some of you don't know about the TypeScript. So it is nothing but a programming language that adds types on a top of JavaScript. So if someone asks you what is service, so you can simply say that service is simply a TypeScript class. Okay. Now it is used to organize and share logic or data across different platforms of an Angular application. Okay, so this is a formal definition. Now if I explain in a very layman terminology, so assume there are multiple components. Okay, and each component needs some kind of data by processing data fetching operation. Okay, so in that case, like if each component create its own thing, then it is complex, right? So what we'll do, we will create one service, we will put our data in that service, and from that service all components can share the same logic. So you can see there is no data redundancy. You can simply refer from the service. Clear? Fine. Now we will talk about the next thing, that is, why do we need service? So here you can see, without service, each component, a building block of UI in Angular, would have to handle both UI work and logic work like fetching data. So I just explained you, like if we are not using service, then in that case component will handle the UI part, also the data part or business logic part, which is not good, right? Because component is built mainly for the UI purposes, so we should take care of that thing. So for that reason we need a service, because service allow us to separate UI logic in components from business logic in services. So it will help us to separate and organize the code in a better way, and it makes the code clean, reusable. Okay, fine. Now move to the next point, that is dependency injection. I'm sure you might have heard about this term multiple times, because this is something that we frequently heard when we are dealing with the Angular. So similarly here we are talking about the dependency injection, that is DI. Although it will be clear more when we are doing it practically, but let's at least go through it. Okay, so that we will keep it in mind that yes, there is one thing that is called dependency injection and we have to talk about this. Okay, alright. So what is dependency injection? Angular has a built-in system called dependency injection, where DI means like DI means dependency injection means you don't create objects manually. Instead, Angular creates and injects them whenever needed. Okay. For example, if a component needs a service, then Angular automatically gives it an instance. Okay. So this is the thing. Then we have next question, that is how to create service. So we make a class and add the injectable decorator over there. So how you will identify the service? In a class, if you find a injectable decorators always start with @ and after that if you find injectable, that means this is a service. Because here you can see what is decorator. A decorator is a special function in Angular written with @ that tells Angular how to use the class. Okay, fine. Next we have how to use inject a service. In a components constructor, what is constructor? A special function that runs after the component is created. We tell Angular what service we need. Okay, so by telling the constructor that yes, this is the service we want to use, we can easily inject the service and we can use the service. Okay. Then we have another important term, that is singleton nature, which is nothing but a single copy of a service. So if a service is provided at the root level, Angular makes only one copy, that called singleton, for the whole application. Okay, and this is useful when multiple components needs to share the same data or state. Okay, so this thing is called as singleton nature. Now we will talk about the scope of service, because in interviews also, like, you will be asked with this question, like what is the scope of the service. So you can say the service can live at different levels, like root, when available. In case of root, it is available everywhere in the application. In case of module level, available only inside that specific Angular module. Then we have component level, where a new service instance is created each time the component is used. Clear? So I hope this thing is clear. Now we will talk about the examples of service, like what service do. Okay, so with these examples it will clear you like in what areas you can utilize it. So it is used for fetching data from API using an Angular HTTP client. So those who have worked with the advanced topic, they know about HTTP client, but if you don't know, that is also fine. We are going to do everything from scratch. I'll tell you each and everything, so don't worry. Second thing is storing temporary data like cart items in e-commerce application. Then we have writing reusable utility function like date formatting, because we know that frequently we use date formatting thing, right? So we can keep it in a service and then we can share it across the multiple services. Then we have handling application wide logic like authentication, login, logout, these kind of operation. Okay. Alright, let's talk about the service life cycle. So Angular creates a new service when it is first needed, like when component asks for it. Okay, then Angular will create a service. Angular destroy the service when its scope is destroyed, like root, module, component. Whenever we destroy the scope, it will automatically add. So basically it is created when a component asks for it, and it is destroyed when its scope is destroyed. Clear? Fine. Then we have testing. Yes, so whenever we are talking about development, testing is also important phase, because without tests you are not supposed to deploy anything even in projects, right? Fine. So what is testing and how it is different in case of services? So in case of testing, services are easier to test than as compared to components, because component have to deal with both things, data as well as UI, but here the services won't they don't deal with the UI part. Okay, that is why it is easier here, because we can test them by checking if the function returns the expected data or result. If it is not, it is failed. If it is returning, it is true. Okay, so it is simple as that. Okay, so almost we have talked about all the required things regarding the services. Now the question comes, what are the best practices? Even though we are going to discuss these all things again whenever we are doing the sessions, but let's discuss the best practice also. So best practices: keep each services focused on one purpose. Okay, so create separate services as per the requirement. Don't jumble up all the things into the same routine. Okay, suppose like if you want authentication and project management, so there should be two different services. Don't put it in a same. Okay, another thing, don't put UI code inside services, because that belongs to a component. We know that, right? Component is for sub UI part, and for services we should keep that data. Prefer provident, that means root for most cases simpler, avoid duplicate services. Yeah, that is also an important point, that you should avoid the duplicate of services. Okay, so I think this introduction part is clear to all of you, and from next session we are going to do everything from practical, from scratch, and in a very simple way. So yeah, that's all for today. See you in the next session with new topics. So thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.